So, Dave, how's the preparations been going for Arizona and the problems, the issues
Sure.
the defense presents?
Yeah, again.
Baker and those guys?
Yep. And I think, when you look at them specifically on defense, a lot of familiarity with especially the head coach for myself. We go back a long ways. Have a lot of respect for his background. DB coach by nature. The back end does a good job of keeping things in front of them. They're strong up the middle. They create some issues in their fronts. And, when you watch them throughout, there's a reason why they've done a good job of keeping themselves in games. Defensively, they make good adjustments as we go forward. And, again, their goal is to keep it in front. You can see it. They're trying to bleed you out. And again, he does a good job with that whole defensive staff of schematically trying to take things away. They've shown in games of doubling receivers. They've shown some simulated pressure looks. They try to get you into situations where get you into some of the protection calls and then bring the opposite. And again, it's a smart defensive staff. Got the players in the right position. You can see the players are flying around. You even go to the Cleveland game. I know what the score was, but when you really watch the drives, Arizona did a good job at times taking away a lot of things that Cleveland was trying to do. It'd be no different against us, and our challenge in front of us is to make sure that we stay on track and understand the adjustments within the game are going to need to be made just because of what they're going to try to do to us defensively.
Do you have much familiarity with Canada? Because I know, like, him and Art.
Sure. High school together, college together. I hosted him on his recruiting visit. And his wedding, where do I stop? Helped get him to Tennessee. Again, we go back a long way. His family and I, his wife's family. A lot of respect for the person, a tremendous amount of respect. He's a very good football coach, but Jonathan and I's relationship definitely obviously goes past the X and O part of it. And, I was thrilled for him to get an opportunity to be a head coach. And, we grew up not too far away from each other and kind of followed each other's paths at St. Ignatius High School and then into Louisville. And then obviously into the NFL when he was with us in Tennessee. So I'm not sure if that considers close or not, or what do you consider those connections? But they're decent connections at times. But, yeah, close personal friend.
So wait, were you in each other's weddings then? Or?
No, I wouldn't put him in my wedding. No. I think I was a reader, right? I was a reader in his wedding. Yeah, no, he was, again, it goes back a long time. We're essentially teenagers into our college years. It was, again, I'll brag on him a little bit. He was one of the better athletes I'd ever seen. And then an unfortunate injury in college derailed all that. We're playing Cincinnati. He's in the middle of the field, and the hip just went out and just wasn't able to recover. And he's been through a lot of that. So, again, I think he's got a lot of that human side connection with the players just because of the injuries and the things he's been through. But a tremendous character of a person, tremendous individual. I have nothing but great things to say about the person. Hopefully, those go away when the ball kicks off. But before or after, there's definitely a relationship there.
Does that change? I mean, you've gone against people you're
Yeah, sure.
Does that change anything in terms of maybe whether he knows you and Art well enough to maybe understand tendencies, you know him, or just like even on the personal side of
it's a good question because you would think there's some psychology to that though, but it's about the players, right? And I think that's the guys go out there and they're trying to execute a plan, but in terms of trying to think like that person, yeah, I mean you're trying to put yourself. You're always trying to do that, right? You're trying to think, okay, what's their next step going to be? But yeah, again, there's going to be, I'm sure, some pleasantries before the game, a text or two after the game, but then we probably go our separate ways. But when that ball is kicked off, those are the last thing on your mind is, from a coaching perspective, is, oh, I'm going against so-and-so. But yeah, that's pretty, like the longer you're in this league, right? That's pretty commonplace for a lot of us to have some of these personal relationships, but once it is kicked off, it doesn't register the same way.
Since you mentioned players, considering I guess where you are at the running back group, how do you feel like y'all have handled Bijan this year in terms of where you're using him, when you're using him, in in relation to what we thought it may be when you got them.
Yeah, I mean, we're how many games in, right? And again, I don't. The one thing that I think is that we try to keep as a staff is fully aware of. Again, you're promised 17. So within each of those, right, periods of the season, right, different things occur. Okay, for any position, right? There could be injury, there could be the way that you're scheming up something. But again, right, just doing the math, we got some games left, right? I mean, I think that's, and I'm not trying to be condescending, really, it's a good question. What I'm trying to say is, you know, again, there's ebbs and flows of the season, right? We're trying to obviously, there's 17 of those games in which we want to see and have that we're guaranteed in the regular season. We want to make sure that we've got guys peaking, we got guys in the right position at the right times, and we want to continue to keep that going, right, through a long NFL season. So, again, there's times where any of our players, right, have gotten either more targets or more rushes, and then the next game there might be a situation or whatever the reason, right, where that kind of comes back down a little bit. But again, as you look at this 9 games in, right, there's still 8 more guaranteed, right? We want to be able to make sure that guys are fresh, guys are in good position to be successful, and that we're scheming those guys up, regardless if that's in the running back room, the wide receiver room, or the tight end room. And I think that's more looking at it in the grand scope and not just every single game. Okay, so-and-so got this. Well, yeah, we want to see, okay, through the whole season, how are we manifesting that? And how are guys playing? And are guys in different rooms banged up or not banged up? Or what are the defense trying to take away here? How schematically can we be better about it to get guys in the best position? So, again, to answer your question in a roundabout way, 9 games in, right, 8 games guaranteed more for us, right? We're trying to measure and understand the flow of each one of those games in the season, and we'll obviously assess that as we continue to go.
Is this something that, I mean, do you have to explain that to Bijan, who, you know, who had a whole bunch of work, at least as a rusher, not necessarily as a route runner or receiver at Texas, but, you know, he got the ball a heck of a lot there. I mean, is that a conversation you have about that?
Again, I'm sure you guys will fact check me. If I'm not mistaken, he has the most touches, right? I think 131 for us this year.
Yes, he has 131 touches. He has 210 routes run, which is the most for running back in the NFL. Yeah.
And again, and the reason why I bring that up is, right, again, not to get into the personal relationships of how we coach our players and how they respond to us, but you guys were able to see a part of practice. I don't know, not all of it. That's not true, D-Lad.
We don't see any practice.
Okay. All right. My point is, right, you got the guys with great attitudes. They're very coachable. We give them the whys of why we do things, right? That's what coaches do. It's easy to tell someone to do something, but effective to be a coach is explain the whys. And so we explain the whys to the players. And again, there's always a give and take, right, in terms of how it's responded or how guys respond to those whys. But we always try to give a thought-out process of why we're doing things. So if it's Bijan or somebody else, again, that's a personal, relationship that we have with those players. But again, they understand what we're trying to accomplish in each game.
Taylor mentioned that he's been working on his footwork with you. What did you see specifically that needed to be shored up there?
Yeah, I think for Taylor in general, right, getting back into live action, I know he had the half in Tennessee, and getting back into a full game, right? The last time he had done that in a full game playing 4 quarters was last year. So again, I think some of those things are just trust your training, like all the players that we tell, trust your fundamentals. Again, I think the one thing that we want to make sure, especially at the quarterback spot, is, yeah, there's fundamentals, there's no doubt, right? There's things that are concrete, belief, where your feet need to be. But if that's the only focus that you have, then you lose the instinctual or you lose your eyes. And again, it's a balance in between those things. Yeah, in a perfect pocket with no one around you, fundamentals to as perfect as can be. But the reality of the NFL game in the pocket, there's a good chunk, 30 to 40% of the game, where there's someone at your feet or you're moving off your spot. Like, what are you doing then, right, when the pocket's not clean? And that's just conversations, not just with Taylor, but with the other quarterbacks that we're constantly having and constantly trying to drill. The difference in drill work, right, we're not going to tackle you. In a game, right, now it's the human nature part of self-preservation kicks in. And again, it's that balance of, yes, sure, take my drill work over, but the reality is, okay, now that there's live people coming at me, how do I then, right, still stay calm, keep my eyes where they need to be, protect the football, or make a good decision if I'm going to take off and go? And that's a constant drill or conversation that we're having with Taylor and the other quarterbacks as well.
He also said that Dez was working with him with the footwork as well. How have you seen them work off each other, especially in the period before the bye?
That's a good question. I'm glad that you asked about the quarterback room in terms of how it, just the environment of it. Look, I've been in a lot of quarterback rooms. Like, I am completely fortunate in my current situation to be in the quarterback room that I'm in. They are 100% in each other's corners, and that's Logan included. You've got a group of 3 men in there who obviously want to play football. But the fact that they're able to help each other, push each other in such a way, like I said, I'm beyond fortunate to work with a group of those 3 that work the way they do with the character that they have. I get to see behind the curtains. I get fans and media do not at times. But I'm here to tell you, like, it's as good, as healthy, as competitive of a quarterback room that I've ever witnessed. And it's not because of the coaches. It's a credit to those 3 individuals who wake up each day with a great attitude to try to get better. And for me to be a part of that, like, it inspires me, honestly, to see how they've gone about their business and how they've gone about, and again, you're probably hearing my voice a little emotional with it. Like, this does mean something to me because it can go a lot of different ways in a quarterback room. And the fact that they had the maturity, the growth mindset, and the human element to go out there and perform, not just on the field, but in the classroom, yeah, they've got all my respect. Regardless of a statistical line or anything else, like, as far as my coaching career, those 3 have my respect.
Anything else? East side or west side? Again.
West side, Old Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you need to bring it up to him.
Huh?
You need
to
make that call. Yep, Old Brooklyn.
Well, we used to talk to the coaches every week, but they cut that out too.
I mean, well, Haley, we know that you ran.
I swear you're out during individual, D-Lad. Are you not out there?
Yes, you are. Individual, but that's practices is practice.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
That's drills and stretch. But I mean, hey, it's things have changed.
Josh, what do you got?
Well, since you asked, Taylor mentioned Sean Hill and what he did for him in the beginning of his career, and that he's tried to carry that to Desmond. How have you seen, I don't want to put words in his mouth to what it meant to him, but how have you seen it?
Yeah, I know of Sean Hill, never been around him. I've heard great things about him. Long career. And Taylor is one, you hear him talk, and he's been in some quarterback rooms, right? And you hear him talk about other players. And I think you are shaped by your experiences, right? About people who have influenced you. And sometimes it's not great influence. Sometimes it's a negative influence, and you either don't want to be that person or it can potentially impact you. Taylor has done a good job of just being able to understand, right, his surroundings, the environment, and then how it works with not just the coaches but the other guys in the room. And he's had an appeal in other places he's been because of that. You know, I know people that were in Washington, some of the staff, and they talk a certain way about Taylor. Just the way that he's able to embrace them, just the way he's able to kind of have a carefree relationship with others. And it's no different than how he performs. And if that's because of Sean Hill, I mean, I've never asked him that. But he's definitely been impacted by somebody who's kind of helped him and guided him in terms of how to treat others. Good.
All right, thanks, Coach.
It's good to see everybody. Just going back from last week's game, guys played hard. Unfortunately, came on the short end of it. We'd love to be on the other end of that and, you know, get the dub. But everything's still right in front of us. We got 8 games left, with this one being the biggest game of the year for us in our organization going into Arizona. Look forward to the challenge. They got a good dual returner, Greg Dortch. I know he was here for a little bit before taking off and going out to Arizona. He's been a spark for them as a returner and as a receiver. Look forward to going against him. He's quick. He gets vertical with the ball. He can get to the perimeter really fast. He'll catch the ball in traffic as a punt returner, and he does a good job of taking calculated risk as a returner. They have a lot of good core players. You know, Blunt, they're one of their gunners, number 32. He's forced 2 fumbles this year, and he has 4 tackles as a gunner on punt. So it'll be a great challenge on the perimeter for our jammers to make sure we get him blocked up. Dennis Gardeck has been a special teams guy for them for a while. I remember one of my first games with the Detroit Lions. I believe he was a rookie back in 19. He was very effective, and he was an impact player in that game and actually helped Arizona tie that football game that year when we finished this. We started the season off 0-1. I don't know if you remember that, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, back in we played in Arizona.
It felt like the loss for you.
Yeah, so they have a bunch of good guys. You know, Ezekiel Turner. They have a bunch of core players that are going to be very impactful, and then I know Jeff Rodgers will have those guys ready. And he's highly respected in the NFL as a special teams coordinator, situational guy, and he does a great job making sure his guys are in the present and they're playing at the highest level possible.
Coach, can you go over the punt returner change that we saw on the field last week?
Oh, we went back there, went with D. Alford back there. Thought it was what was best for our team going into that game. Unfortunately, you know, he got kind of banged up, but he'll be fine. He'll be, you know, he's working at it. And I would say as a returner, we want to still do a better job of decision making. Did a good job on the first one, fair catching it. Obviously, the second one, we would like from the fair catch. He was trying to take calculated risks, ended up being a bang play. As a punt returner, we rather you in those positions, D-Led, to take a fair catch rather than get hit as you're catching the ball, because that seems prone to that ball getting out. And we want to make sure in those situations that, number one, that we have the ball in the very next play for our offense, no matter how that field position is. If a jammer doesn't get the best block and slow that gunner down, at least we get a fair catch. We could coach it up the next time and get it squared away when it comes to that. So we got to do a better job of making a better decision when it comes to fair catch or not fair catch in those situations. And then Scotty made a good decision on a short punt, making sure getting the guys away from it and capitalize on that field position for our offense.
So if D can't go on Sunday, who's your punt returner?
Working with D, working with Scotty, another guy, possibly, Demir Bird has been working at it, and then we still have Bijan back there working it, and also too, Mike Hughes is still back there working the return game. So we're fortunate to have multiple guys working back there, and based on how the week goes, we'll make that decision going into the game.
Coach, just for the common fan, can you explain to them the precision and the perfection that the long snapper, holder, and kicker have to go through, the work that they have to put in to make sure their operations, fluid and correct?
For field goals,
Field goals.
Yeah, for field goals, that play is important. We talk about one play down, and that play is directly correlated to us putting points on the board, D-Led. So it starts with our snapper, making sure that he has the right velocity on his snaps, and then when he's snapping the ball back to Bradley, that the location is where Bradley wants it, and then the laces are pointed to where when Bradley catches the ball, let's say we'll use your phone, okay? Here's the laces. We want the laces here, facing the field goal post. So when he catches it, we want to make sure that the laces are pointed to where Koo wants it. So he doesn't have to spin it.
Okay.
Because it's already hard now. You talk about Bradley. When Bradley catches the ball, it's a hard job. If he has ever wanted to do it, we could bring you out there for a field goal tomorrow, catch the ball from Liam, and now you got to put the ball down right where that spot is at. Yep, so wherever that spot's at, that's where Koo wants it, and you got to catch it and have the laces pointed that way to where Koo wants it. And then now you talk about Bradley. Bradley's catching the ball. He has to feel where the laces are at, put the laces exactly where Koo wants the laces to be pointed, and wherever that spot is at on the ground, he has to put the bottom of that tip of the ball right where it's at, because that's where Koo's expecting the ball to be when it comes to that. And then the last part is now Koo. He has to trust that Liam is going to do his job. Bradley's going to put the ball exactly where he wants it, and Koo's going to take his approach, and he can't hesitate while making the right contact and having the right lean on the football so his foot can match the plane of the football and then get the ball through the uprights. So that whole process, there's no shortcuts to it, D-Led, when it comes to working our operation, and that's just the operation in itself. And Koo can't do his job without the other two guys being precise. Now, we're making field goals, and that's our job. we signed up for it, the 3 specialists and myself as a coach, being in charge of special teams. But anytime we make field goals, they're not always perfect. So we're always looking at the process. We're looking at each individual technique. And what I appreciate about all 3 of those guys, they're very transparent when it comes to the operation. Yeah, we put the ball through the uprights, but was it the perfect operation for us? And each and every one of them will critique each other and make sure that we're going to be better on the very next rep. And every single rep is the most important rep.
What additional preparation have you seen Koo put in that allows him to make those like 50-plus yard kicks? What seems like with these?
I would say the preparation, the extra preparation, I don't think that he's put in, I wouldn't say extra preparation like he's doing something different this year compared to last year. He's just making sure that he's all on the same page with the other specialists. When it comes to how he wants the ball held, seeing how he feels when he's holding the football. There's a lot of times, if you guys watch like the TV copies, as Koo's getting lined up, him and Bradley are having conversations as he's getting lined up, and he's looking at his line and where he wants to kick the ball. So he's doing a better job of, we're having Bradley and Liam. This is like our second year, all 3 of those guys being together. So that continuity is helping Bradley. I think that's been our Bradley, Koo, and Liam. That's helping Koo because, my first year here, we had different holders. Last year was a new snapper. Before that, he had a new holder in the 20 season. And then before that, he had a new holder in 19 season, and he joined there halfway through the year. So I think that's helping the continuity, and so those guys can get to understand how to collaborate and work with each other. And then also too, I think what helps Koo is his mindset. He doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low. He focuses on that particular rep, and I said it before, he's process driven. That's what he works on all the time. And the results, they will come if you stay focused on what's in front of you, your contact, how you're going to hit the ball, and trusting that your other 10 players your teammates are going to do their job.
Numbers would suggest that the last 2 years punting has taken gone from a steady increase to a pretty big jump in terms of distance with the same hang time. Do you, I'm sure that's not a surprise to you, but do you have any theories as to why? I
think the punters are becoming better and better. Yeah, the punting and kicking aspect of the game, the margin from first to middle of pack is very minimal. You look at punting, a guy's net could be at like 44. If his net drops to 43 or 42, you might drop down drastically wherever your rankings are at. And then you talk about the players are becoming better. Gunners are becoming better. Coverage is becoming better. So you see the gross and net. Like you see a lot of gross punts. There's a lot of big-time gross punts. I want to say the kicker, Cole from the Raiders had like a 70-some yard punt the other day, and they're doing a good job getting up and through the ball, good hang times. The protection's helping with that, and then the gunners are going downfield making plays. So, and there's a lot of good hang time punts. So you're seeing that the quality of punts are way better now, I think, and it's good for the league. It's good for special teams when it comes to quality punts. But the punters are doing a better job of putting the ball up in the air and putting the stress on the return team.
Is it just specialized training as much as anything, catching up with guys
I think it's a combination. Everybody has specialized training when it comes to kicking coaches, punting coaches, whether they're in the building, whether they use them in the off season or outside the building. I think the guys are getting bigger and stronger when it comes to that, when you're talking about the game of football and punting the football. And then also too, I think just based on how situations are happening and how the game is being played, and sometimes there's a lot of variables too. It might be something as simple as a returner might be a line wrong, which correlates to a good punt. It might be correlated to, hey, the gunners are not being double vice. They're being single press, so they're getting downfield faster. So there are some other variables, but I would say a combination of both. In-house training, outside the building training, and then just them getting bigger, stronger, and playing with better technique. The game's evolved, and you can see in the punt game how that's involved and translates to the gross punting average.
Anything else?
Yeah, Coach. Aiden O'Connell, you had him at the East West Shrine Ball and was getting some opportunities
Yes.
out in Vegas. What did you think back then? And I just put up the story. He's one of my 5 players to watch. Gave me that. What about a guy like Aiden getting his chance out there in Vegas for the Raiders.
Well, congrats to him and the win last week versus the Giants. Just being around him for about 9 to 10 days, it was cool just to see the maturation process of him going into a work week. I give a lot of credit to our staff that during that week, Coach Petrie was working with the quarterbacks that week, and Coach Pill was offensive coordinator. But being able to sit in the quarterback room and see how those guys went about their process, seeing how they took notes, how they studied, how they were around their teammates. And again, it was uncomfortable for a guy like Aiden because he was around a whole new group of teammates for 10 days, and then seeing them go into the game, seeing how he operated in practice, in game, and now seeing him in Las Vegas, which is crazy because we were in Las Vegas for that, and seeing him going out there and get a game ball after the game and helping his team win a game. So it's cool to see that process, seeing where he started, going into his, his official interview for the NFL, and then now putting it together and winning a ball game for the Raiders. So excited for him, and I know his best days are yet to come, D-Led.
Anything else?
Thanks, Coach.
All right, appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, it probably helps.
Right?
I don't think so.
Yes.
Barely. Who's got sometimes morning, afternoon, How we doing?
All blends together.
Yes. Especially week 10, right? Is that where we're at? Week 10?
Yep.
How about that? So we just started this thing. All right.
Yeah, Coach, what are some of the issues you all have with Kyler Murray being set to return to play?
We have to keep him in the pocket. Cannot let him run around. Have to make it a pocket passer. Guy's a great athlete. I mean, he's been running around and getting out of the pocket and extending plays, and his entire career. So we have a conscious effort of keeping him in. And then we've got to do a good job when we have our hands on them of getting them to the ground. A sack is a sack. It doesn't matter how hard we hit them. We just get them to the ground, and play second and long, third and long, or get off the field. So those two things. But he's been a good player for a long time in the league and had a lot of success. So we've got to do our part in keeping him in there and making him a pocket passer.
So obviously that's a challenge with heads up with the fact that you have no idea of what he'll actually look like in this offense. Does that add another layer of wrinkle to it, or is it kind of almost like, in some ways, a easier version of the last 2 weeks in terms of prep?
Yeah, I think similar. There's some similar things to what he's been doing in the past in the other offense, so that helps. But just the fact of the matter, the guy's a really good athlete. He's a good quarterback, and so we've gone back and played against him a couple of times already in his career. Studied those some of those tapes. Obviously last year before, those type of things. So it's not all of a sudden it's just this new quarterback we don't know anything about. So I think that'll help our guys. This is the type of player he is. Passing game, quarterback run game, those type of things. And so he definitely presents a challenge. He's a good player, and we'll be up for the test.
You've known David basically for all of his career. How have you seen him grow in Atlanta alone? He had such a standout game last week.
Yeah, he's getting better every week. Guy is an extremely hard worker, and so that has been his from the first time that he started in the league, and he's taken that approach every single day. He's one of the first guys on the field. And so those things have helped him. He's a tireless worker on the fundamentals, the technique, and the detail of the position, and he loves that part of the game. And so that has just been one of the things that he's stayed with and continues to stay with. And I think it's just through the process, through all of those actions, you're seeing, him continually get better. And I still think there is another step for him. I really do. Because when you look at his story and where he's come from in his past and everything, and playing in the league, you still see a bright future for him and then continue to improve. But we talked about this at the beginning of the season, that David could take another step, and think he has. He's playing really good run defense. He's developed more as a pass rusher the last couple of years. I think that you're seeing it in the last game. He rushed really well. But his process is put in the work, You know, it's not a secret. Put the work in, study the tape, you know your opponent, and then go out there on Sunday and execute.
Something you said in your first answer there made me think you maybe thought your guys went for the big hit too much last week as opposed to securing the tackle. Was I mishearing that?
No, I think that could have been it. I also think we could have been going for the ball, you know, trying to get the ball, make a play, you know, those type of things. And so the number one thing we got to do is we got to secure the tackle before anything else happens. We got to secure the tackle, particularly on the quarterback. You know, let's secure the tackle. Let's get the guy to the ground, and then play the next play. And so that's been an emphasis of, hey, you know, tackling fundamentals as we do every week, and think that we've done a pretty good job defensively as a tackling defense, as you look at the whole. And the last 2 weeks, we're not as up to our standards tackling wise, and another emphasis this week is, as we do every week on Wednesday or Thursday, is tackling as an emphasis every day. We have a tackling circuit and those fundamentals and technique, and so extra emphasis this week to get back to, you know, our standard and what we've done here.
When you say keeping a guy in a pocket, is that anything beyond just being disciplined in your rush lanes? I mean, is there anything, any secret sauce to it?
No, I mean, that's the biggest thing. We got to work together. You know, that's you have to trust that, you know, if I'm rushing on the right, that the guys on the left are doing their job to keep them in. You know, and our pressure package, the same thing, because there's second and third level guys that are going to be in the rush. You know, and so everybody has a job to do, whether we're rushing with 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever we're doing. The guys have an area, and they have to control that area and keep the pocket tight and collapse it around them. So we can't move around, and you know, and trust is a big part of that. You know, and then do your job. You know, hey, if I'm supposed to be on the left side, do your job, be on the left side. You know, it's and so those are the things how, you know, we practice, and then we watch the tape and we show the guys, you know, hey, you're in this area, so he can't get out and around, or I'm in this area, he can't step up and through, and then we show it as a unit or groups, you know, and then so everybody sees it, and so we can go out and execute on Sunday.
In the last couple of weeks, there were quarterbacks that you faced that you didn't either have tape on or didn't know that you were, you know, when Dobbs stepping in. In hindsight, how much of a challenge was that?
No, you know what? That's a great question. But ultimately, it all came down to how our execution, how we tackled, how we performed. You know, there's certain calls that I want back in the last 2 games that we all could do a better job, starting with me, and that's the first thing. It starts here, and so I take full responsibility for the last 2 weeks, and we have made a conscious effort of improving those, you know, those areas that I think we have played some pretty good defense, and just getting back to playing our brand, our style, you know, those type of things, and it's been really good. Yesterday's practice was awesome. The guys were flying around, and we still have a lot to play for, and they're right there, like, and they're disappointed in what's going on the last 2 weeks, but on the other hand, they're working extremely hard at their area and their technique and fundamental. Yesterday's practice was fantastic. Proud of our guys. They came out, they flew around. We watched some tape together. I mean, there was some really good stuff. We had a great practice, and so they're right where we need to be mentally. You know, now it's just, hey, let's get out there, get a win, and then, you know, get this thing going again. And so it happens. You know, it happens. You get a lull in the middle of the season. I mean, it happens all the time. And you know, like I said, we've still got a lot to play for. You know, and our guys know that. And that's the thing. You know, we had meetings today. It was high energy. Guys are excited. And so it makes, as a coach, you're fired up. You know, because your players they're all into it. You know, and fully anticipate a great practice today and a good performance on Sunday.
Coach, is it a matter of playing assignment football when you don't have the, you know, ideally film matchup that you know, you normally would have in this situation?
I think it's always assignment football, right? You know, it's always, you know, alignment, assignment, you know, fundamentals and technique. You know, those type of things. You know, in the game that it always matters. You know, every single week. You know, and you know, just doing your job and being happy that you know, you're doing your job and making the plays when they come to you. You know, so that's something that's always, you know, don't beat yourself. You know, yeah, just do your job and execute. You know, that happens in the league. You know, the first thing, you know, talk about it is let's execute. Let's not beat ourselves, and you know, if the opponent's better than we are, or you know, they're making another play that maybe didn't make the right call, then hey, good for them. They did a good job. But our first thing is, hey, you know, everything's about us. We focus on ourselves: alignment, assignment, fundamentals, technique, execution, and then go play hard and fast and tackle well.
Anything else? All right.
Awesome,
Thank you
guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good day.